Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Newcastle Fast FM. Jazakallah khair for tuning in. Thank you all very much for joining us on this evening of Monday, the 15th of March. Subhanallah. And today, with our esteemed guest, Dr. Abdul Haqq, we're going to be discussing Sarah Everard. And we are going to be looking at a time for action. Now, last week on Monday was International Women's Day. And throughout the week, we've seen a whole load of stuff, whether it was Meghan Markle or this horrific situation with Sarah Everard and the murder and as it's unfolding in front of us. And we've seen that it has been done. The murder was committed by a police officer. And when I was talking to Dr. Abdul Haqq, he felt that it was important, inshallah ta'ala, to bring this up again, that it is a time for action. It is a time for solidarity, and it is a time to bring forward these issues, to be able to tackle them, to challenge them, and to look at what we can do, inshallah ta'ala, to affect change in whatever shape or form we can make that progress and something better, inshallah, in our own society. And that is the point of our discussion today. So please get involved with the discussion, drop your comments in, share, like, and distribute, inshallah. Give us your salams, let us know where you're tuning in from. And with that, inshallah, I just want to say assalamu alaikum, Dr. Abdul Haqq. Great to see you again today, inshallah, and bismillah.
Wa alaikum salam, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm pleased to be here. Wa alaikum salam to Malahat, Kira, Floating Man. This is quite close to home. Wa alaikum salam, brother Bilal. Good to see you here as well. Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bilal's just on the screen there, and that's apt because I want to give a perspective and a backdrop. And I want the viewers, wherever you may be, including yourself, Wajid, to picture this. I'm from South London. Bilal, who's just come there, is from South London. I know the route that Sarah would have been walking. I used to live on, when my parents first got divorced, we moved to Clapham South, Nightingale Lane. And that's where Clapham Common goes right across from Clapham South, up to Clapham Common. Beautiful, beautiful park. The bandstand that everyone's seen. I used to play there, run around there. I was there a few summers ago when we were in the UK, because I like taking my younger children and to let them memory lane and everything where we lived when my parents first separated. And then there's Clapham High Road. I went to Henry Thornton. My first year in secondary school was in Henry Thornton, which is on Clapham Parkside, Clapham Common. It became a very middle class area, affluent area. Then you move up along Clapham High Road, very chic area. You've got bars and everything there. So.uk, I remember that name because when you look at it, So.uk is souk and very nice. You've got restaurants there. You've got a really chic Sainsbury's along there. And I'll give you, before I came to Islam and my early days of Islam, or before Islam, but just as I embraced, I want to be clear on this. I had a nightclub on that stretch of the road. Family friend of my mother's said let him use it how he wants. So on a Tuesday or Thursday, I think it's Thursday, I began to start a nightclub there. I know that high road very, very well. You continue along that road, you go straight up, keep going straight, you go to Stockwell. I was born in Stockwell. You veer off to the right, either at Clapham North Underground, and you go straight up to Brixton, or you can go all the way up to Stockwell and turn right. I'm describing all of this for the viewers to show you how well I know this area. I am from Tooting. I know Clapham. I know all of the underground connections from Tooting right the way up, going through Clapham. So Clapham South, Clapham North, Clapham Common, Clapham North. I used to get out of Clapham Common to walk back to school and everything. And you're safe when you're in this area. You've got it's bubbling, it's vibrant. Even when it's quiet, you're safe. The mentality and the mindset. Okay, there are particular areas Once upon a time, Brixton, front line and everything like that, and the back rows of Brixton. Only some of us were comfortable in those areas and still remain comfortable, but that's become very gentrified now, as Clapham is very gentrified. So knowing that she was walking along roads that I traversed, my sister, my wife, female friends, young women would walk and would not. I know many are saying about the fears they have. Yes, we'll talk about that shortly. But you wouldn't give it a thought because of the area that you were in. And to know that she was actually seeing the bandstand, and I've seen it on the news the past few days, and I know that bandstand, and seeing the swarms of people there. Before I was a Muslim, there's a pub on Clapham, that part of Clapham Common, and we all used to meet there on a Sunday with our little kids, and the music would be bursting out of the cars, and it was all nice and summer of love and all this sort of stuff in the late 80s and everything like that. I know that area. And that's
so very sort of social, very sort of social space, family safe, all things considered. Astaghfirullah, we're kind of touching on now, but
it's a cool place to be. So this is the point. Why am I saying this? So for a serving police officer to know that area, know what it stands for, know the caliber and type of people, demography of people who go there, and then to target someone. And Poinders Road is another road that runs through there, and it goes through to Balham and everything. To know that this individual's mind, and we don't know it yet, but I'm saying for anyone to be targeting someone there, and you are a serving police officer, a serving official, it's nothing short of evil and calculated, to be honest with you. This is what I'm thinking. And it sent a chill down many people's spines. It sent a chill down my spine looking there thinking, that could have been anyone that I knew. That could have been anyone I knew who were in the area, or even if it wasn't, because there's, as I said, there's more of a gentrified area in that people have moved in from the middle classes and everything as well. Just the fact of that happening now, 2021, March 2021, during the COVID season, she had her face covers, as we saw in that instance. What depravity must have been in the mind of the individual who abducted her? And we're going to learn in trial what happened leading up to her death and everything like that. Yeah. So my thing now is that we spoke about it many times before. There's a time for action. And I want to hasten to add at this point, there may be some of the more conservative, I believe we're conservative, but even more conservative Muslims than us. Oh, the woman shouldn't be out at night. This is what happens. Yeah. If she should be with mahram, she should be, this should be. I want to say to anyone who's going to even think to write that or even to come forward, and they might say, oh, you're talking against the deen. No, I'm not talking against the deen. But this isn't the place for that now, to do this high and mighty, let's say, what they should have been doing, and what the right and the sanctity of life is something that deen gives us, and this is what we need to be talking about in this particular instance now, on this particular occasion now, and that's what the focus needs to be on. But also we need to say to ourselves, and I mentioned something similar at the time of George Floyd's death. If we see something, wa alaikum salam, Sister Badaria, if we see something, we suspect something, and some of us do this. We see someone who might be in distress, and I've seen this. I've seen a woman standing, blood coming from her mouth, standing there really frightened, and someone in the car, and it's clear an altercation has happened. It's clear they were together, but we've pulled up and we've parked and made ourselves visible. And even though that might be a domestic incident there, we've made it very, very clear that we're present. So either the individual detracts from whatever it is he done to this woman, or if she needs and she says, help me, then we're in. That's the minimal thing. Because, Wajid, let's be clear. I remember when I was living in the UK, you got stories of women being raped in broad daylight, being dragged into bushes off the main road. And when you look at the knee-jerk reaction of people, a lot of them, their initial instinct is to put their heads down. I've seen individuals go through carriages, 2 individuals, and they targeted people to start robbing them. And I was waiting for the individual to defend themselves. They wouldn't, but I then got off the train to see where these individuals were and see how I could deal with this thing. But I'm not going to be this hero who gets himself involved, and the person who's the victim is sitting back doing absolutely nothing, unless it's a woman in that particular instance. I'll be frank. I'm going to share things now that will shock you. That same stretch of road, this was a one-off incident, and they can say, but you said it was peaceful, everything like this. But sometimes when you're leading particular lifestyles, things happen in different places. On Clapham High Road, on that particular road, I was kidnapped at gunpoint in daylight. Okay, so, and everyone just walked past like the Matrix. No one would, obviously, they see people. They saw 2-3 cars across the road. People jump out with whatever armory that they had, and I don't want to go into details there. And I had my friends with me, and they couldn't do anything. And being kidnapped in broad daylight, and okay, the Matrix wasn't out at that time, but it was like a scene from the Matrix. The point is, everyone's heads were down as though absolutely, and that's happened. Yeah. I've witnessed this on a number of occasions. I've been involved in incidents on a number of occasions. It's like, it's broad daylight, no one's paying attention. Now, 2021, it's unacceptable. And I'm not saying that anyone saw Sarah or whatever and even knew what was happening in that instance. But when I say it's a time for action, if we suspect someone is in distress, if we have any inclination, we just need to know, let them know that we are present. But we can't be part of the problem, because remember, they may be thinking, who's this individual lurking around? He could be part of the problem. But we need to make it very clear. Thumbs up, signal, I'm here, are you okay? Whatever. We need to show up. We need to show up. And if we don't have the ability to show up, we need to enlist that help. And most of us have got mobile phones now as well. I'll tell you one case that happened, and I had the video that it was circulating, it was sent. It was absolutely horrific. And what was it? And I had the video, it was circulating. And this is going back maybe 4 months ago. Someone had picked up a schoolgirl, teenage girl, young girl, and had his arm around her and was escorting her away. And he actually forced her to perform particular acts on him, but he was taking her where he could to do whatever else he wanted to do. And I think it went into the newspapers as well. Okay, but the one girl had her wits about her. She could see the girl was scared, and she put her mobile phone on. She called her mother because they were going back that direction. And she said, "Mum, I think a girl's being kidnapped from my school." And she said, "I'm following." She's a young girl, and she was shouting at the guy, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" The mum came out along en route, started following the individual, camera still on and everything. And he was trying to say, "It's my sister, we're going home, it's my sister." And you could see the girl was petrified. Now, the sister, young lady who'd caught them, she saw that gross abuse take place, okay, from round the corner. She said he's abusing her. They carried on following, and he tried to get aggressive. He turned around and swore at them and everything like that. The girl was standing there and said, "This is my sister, this is my sister." But then he saw more people coming, he ran off. The girl was traumatized, she was shaking, she didn't know what to do, and they rescued her. They showed up. Women, young girls showing up for this, and it was in the news. If anyone wants to search it, the video was frightening to watch this happening in broad daylight. So if we suspect something, we've got to do something about it. But then we have to say this as well. For too long, some of us have said we don't trust the police. And I'm not saying this wantonly about police now. This is not going to be a police bashing incident. Some of us have been detained, stopped, as I've mentioned in earlier episodes and everything. Our girlfriend's taken around the corner. That happened with my brother, and propositioned. Nothing happened in that particular instance. Wa alaikum salam, Razina. Nothing happened in that instance, but there was a baiting. There was a, "Why are you with this black guy?" don't we give it good enough? Such and such and such. Okay, these things happen. So when it comes to blatant and wanton trust, wanton's the wrong word, but this overwhelming trust for people in badges, that should be there. But undoubtedly, what we're witnessing now is that trust has been eroded. And then we only had to see, and I'm going to hand it over to you at this point, we only had to see what happened in Clapham in the way that women were treated and manhandled by male police officers. And we have to say to ourselves, is there an issue with misogyny at various levels? Wa alaikum salam, Sister Tavia. Is there a problem with misogyny? Yeah, the link has been given to that video, the attempted kidnap. Thank you for putting that up there, Hassan. It's quite shocking and quite alarming. But if you're going to watch it because of the vigilance of the young schoolgirl who saw and suspected something happening. And the fact that she intervened with her mother coming out from wherever the house that she was living in further along the way. So coming back to what I was saying, Wajid, is there a problem? Is it institutional? We see in the workforce the secondary nature that they talk about women's rights and everything, and they talk about Islam not affording rights to women. Okay. But yet we see, wa alaikum salam, Sister Mariam, yet we see in the Western world, in UK society, there's a disparity with regards to equality in the workforce. We see that women face sexism in the workforce. Is that culture something that we need to look at as Muslims as well? Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely. So while we will talk about the shock horror of everything that we've witnessed with Sarah Everard very recently and everything, we can talk about some of the abuses that have taken place in a minority of cases in madrasas, or some imams who've had these private classes, and the secret camera is showing the propositioning and sometimes the abuse. It starts with touching and everything. We always have to look at ourselves when we're seeing something on a national or global stage. We cannot point and say see. We need to look back at ourselves and we need to say, have we got a problem as well? And the answer is undoubtedly, unequivocally, yes, we do. So again, I'll throw it back over to you. We need to do something about it.
Yeah, I think so. I think just to quickly say, I know you have, mashallah, said salam to Sister Kira, Malahat, Floatman, Bilal, Badriya, Zina, Fatima, Octavia, and Mariam. Jazakallah khair for tuning in, and thank you for your comments. I think they'll just want to pick up on something you've said there, and it comes down to, like you said, you know, whether it's an imam doing it or a police officer doing it, there is a sense of authority that's there that gets exploited, and like you said, you know, whatever the twistedness is of the man, which it usually is, 97, 99% of the time, that whole idea of just really, like, astaghfirullah, like just having no worry of consequences, of impact, of hurt, of trauma, just nothing of it, you know, astaghfirullah. Like, I don't know, like, I think, you know, when we sort of see, like you said, you know, George Floyd happened like a year ago, and that was like live in front of everybody, and it was completely something else, you know. Sister Razina there has just mentioned, you know, global femicide rates is on the increase, astaghfirullah, and we definitely have to ask why in this century this is prevalent, you know, subhanallah. And it's so true, and like you very rightly pointed out there, Dr. Abdul Haqq, it's an issue with certain types of people, men. Wa alaikum salam, Sister Ibtisam, and wa alaikum salam, Miracle. Maricel. So I read as Miracle. Inshallah, alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair. So I think there's an issue around accountability, and I'm talking about true accountability. Like you said, you know, when no one is there, that you know that Allah is watching you, you know, and so on from there. But also, like you said, I think that just that awareness, because there's a big discussion now, and it's been going for some time, but again, just pushing it forward, is, you know, that it's not about, you know, women having to stay safe. It's about men doing their duty of keeping society safe. Because ultimately, you know, like you said, just because she was in that park at that time and this and that, you can, that's not the right direction of this discussion. The fact is, you know, she's been, well, in this particular instance, sadly, she's lost her life. But this violation, this complete sort of oppression that keeps kicking in, is because, you know, somebody decides, oh well, that's enough of a trigger for me to behave in an illegal and sometimes inconceivable way. Astaghfirullah, you know, like what you just talked about there, about a school child being taken away. Astaghfirullah, you know, it's there's this warpness that's in them. Astaghfirullah. I hope I never want to understand it, to be honest with you, in that sense. But it's that exploitative element, that element to think that I have the authority and the power because somebody's behaved in such a way, and therefore if else kind of ideas, and to be able to push forward with these things. I mean, astaghfirullah, you know, like to say, you know, a police officer or not, like off duty or not, still a police officer under that badge, but it's the character under that badge. You know, that imam, it's that character under that imam. And
it's an arrogance comes with it, Wajid, where how dare you reject me? I have a right to objectify you and do what I want with you, and whether it's willingly or unwillingly. And unfortunately, and I don't want to call it a sickness because that gives an excuse to the individuals who do it, or that they're mad or deranged. No, we're not going to do that, because that minimizes the evil that they have perpetrated. And this is happening in some cases. I'm not an expert, but this is happening because of an abuse of position, an abuse of power, self-entitlement, a low opinion of women, and what they perceive women to be. And again, this traverses faith, society, cultures, and I'm exacerbated a little bit, or exasperated, shall I say, a little bit, because I've mentioned previously, I'm no angel, let's be frank, but this stuff, you feel you have a right to somebody else's body and mind and to control it, and if they reject you, you can use violence to enact or extract what you actually desire. Those individuals,
but again, it's like you said, you know, it's this is the 21st century, you know. Where is your mind at? Do you understand? Like, there's no fear at all. Astaghfirullah. Like, you know, like, fear Allah, fear the law, fear the consequences. None of
but
it.
Why? When there's self-gratification, instant self-gratification, then it erodes everything. And I want to see what Brother Bilal has said here. He's asked me to do something. If I'm on the same
my wife
path
has asked me to do something. Yeah, my wife has asked me to do something when walking at night. If I'm on the same path as a woman, she has asked me to cross the street in order for her to feel more comfortable.
Now that's very profound, and Jazakallah khair. That's it. For me, I as a black male, young black male before, I'm not that old now, but I as a black man would feel offended when I saw women crossing the road out of fear seeing me walking down the road. But I'm going to say this for the first time, and I want to say to Bilal to thank his good wife, I know her, that on this occasion now, based on what I'm seeing and hearing, I will do that. I will also do that.
Mhm.
I won't look at myself any longer and feel offense that why is this person crossing the road? I'm not going to upset them. I'm going to adopt this as well next time I'm in the UK. I will cross over the road so the woman feels safe. I will do it.
And
And
you see, I think,
this is very, this is very, very profound, but it is necessary.
there's an American comedian who sort of jokes about it, you know, like, because there's a lot of jokes about Craigslist kind of being where you find murderers and stuff like that, you know. But subhanallah, Sister Octavia is saying, I was once interviewed by a male who behaved extremely inappropriately. It was disgusting and very uncomfortable. And again, astaghfirullah, you know, it's that power, isn't it? In an interview situation, astaghfirullah, like what? Astaghfirullah, you know, but that idea of power, and like you said, that's such a small view of the human, that individual that's in front of you, simply because it's a woman, more than anything else, you know. But you know, like I was saying, there's a comedian, he jokes and he says, you know, the worst thing that can happen to a guy on a date is they get stood up. The worst thing that happened to a woman is she gets killed. And you know, as sort of the play that they are doing it, it's a reality, sadly, that is the worst thing, that astaghfirullah, that can happen. And they're two worlds apart. And sort of what Bilal's sort of highlighting there, you know, is that we don't know, but we also don't know what that sister, what that woman, what that you know, what that person, that woman has been through previously as well. You know, what life has challenged them with, and has been the challenges for them. So again, we don't know what that background is, and just given that space, you know, alhamdulillah, it's you know, like even like within our deen, you know, the shaking of hands and things, the non-gender contact, it creates at least some barrier, at least the physical barrier there, at least to start with, inshallah, to prevent.
You know, I would add there, we need to. I spoke about the moral decay of society and the instant self-gratification. Now, as many viewers know, and you know, I've lived abroad for a number of years now, and while there are incidents, they do not relate in any shape or form to what we are witnessing in the UK in that instance, and in some places in America. Remember, Sarah Everard's case has come to prominence. There are a number of cases. There was a case in November of a black woman. Same thing happened. Murdered. Wasn't highly reported. I'll give you this example. And I want to give personal examples because I think it's very important. When I was in college, I went to Carl Shulton College in Surrey. Okay. And I remember beautiful days, really good friends, obviously mixing and everything like that. I'd just come out of Roman Catholic school, so being in a mixed environment was very exciting for a number of reasons. But I remember we struck up a lot of friends. I was from Tooting, we met others from Croydon, we'd meet there, exciting moments. And I remember I think it was the second year of college, because we all had established friendships now. I remember coming into the refectory, the canteen, and there's a very somber mood. There's a big canteen, various people there. Right. But the group that I was with, a large number of us from various areas, multi ethnic. And I came in, I was like, what's happened? And they mentioned one of our friends, female friends, and said, haven't you heard? I said, what happened? And they said, Streatham Common. And I'm going to explain this. I want people to hear this. And this is why I think this topic is important. And they said, did you hear what happened to her the other weekend? She's in hospital, critical condition. I said, what do you mean? What happened? I said, Streatham, which is not too far from Clapham, South London, my neck of the woods again. She was on the high road, but there's a park, okay? The Common, Streatham Common, goes up to the Rookery and everything like that. So you're coming from Streatham, moving towards Norbury, Croydon. And she was just coming along there, not too late an hour, okay? Very nice girl. Someone dragged her off the path into the park, raped her, but they didn't leave it at that. And I'm not going to go into much detail, but they used a coat hanger. And she was so damaged that she was fighting for her life in hospital. Now, she eventually came back to college. She's a black girl. very attractive, everything like that. And when she first came back, you could see the blood had drained out of her, and we didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm saying is, if anyone, if this ever gets out to anyone, and hopefully none of our viewers are like this, but if this can be conveyed, we don't advocate vigilantism or anything like that. We don't. We can't.
No.
But trust me, if such an incident, as some of my colleagues I've mentioned before, get a whiff that something like that is happening live at that moment in time, and I can get in trouble for this, the police will not be called until after intervention has been made and the potential victim or the is safe. And this is not big talk, because I've given you personal experiences here now, things that and I've seen how it's destroyed people, individuals, communities. So the depravity of individuals to think that they have a right to do this, that's what needs to be tackled. That's what needs to be addressed. And the sad thing is, we only talk about and address it in moments and times like these. And that's not good enough. And it cannot be women addressing it alone.
No. And it's going to take that, like, the allyship of coming together and realizing that this oppression, it's across many things. Like you said, in November, Sister Maryam is saying it's hard to be a woman, a working woman, especially a Muslim woman who lives in a European country. And yes, Allah, there's, may Allah bless you, Sister Maryam, and all of our sisters, and grant you, keep you all safe, because it's a very, very challenging time. And it's, that, like you said, somebody's got to know something somewhere. Somebody's got to know that this guy must have had some conversation somewhere where he's just, can't help himself, and he obviously can't. That sort of stuff. Somebody has got to know something. He's got to know what's going on. But what we end up,
I'm looking, and I'm looking at the scale of the search and everything that's taking place, and I hope I'm wrong, and I don't mind being wrong, but searching the garage, a former garage, his home, different. I'm wondering, was this the first time? It doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like it. And as you said, someone must know something. When we see about some of these mass murderers, and a wife was complicit, or someone was complicit, okay, that's equally alarming. And you don't find out or suspect until later on. But I'm saying, let's come back to this incident now, because we have to look at the heavy-handedness of the police afterwards. But also what I heard today when I was watching the discussion in Houses of Parliament, and I'm not a fan of Priti Patel at all, and I'm not going to begin to speak on her behalf. But when I heard one of her colleagues, Ian Duncan Smith, defend the police and say get back, and he spoke about the female officer who was abused and told, you should be the one who should have been killed, not Sarah. That is, I read that article, as bad. That is as bad, and she was abused or malhandled while she was in the line of doing her duty and everything. So we've got to really, as he said, bring the noise down and focus on the issue at hand, which is a greater problem. It is a greater problem. And as we speak as Muslims, it might be small, but it's significant. We have individuals amongst our communities who objectify women and use the religion to do it, believing that this is how women should be. And again, religious edicts are quoted, and there are authentic religious edicts that give an idea of the relationship between the man and the woman. But what's important is to contextualize that. That's one. Okay. Also to look at, is that edict, or not, I won't say edict, is that tradition, is that narration time placed or time restricted. And I'm not going to say what others say, no, it's all in the past, we shouldn't look at it and everything like that. But contextualizing and understanding this religion will show you, and these men who hold these beliefs, that Islam is an empowering religion. It empowered women. And that's why we see so many converts in the West are women. It actually empowered women. So they need to reconcile how they're understanding particular text and using that and the patriarchy culturally to subjugate women. They need to look at that, because there's a contradiction in terms here. Yes, the roles of the men and women are quite clear, they're demarcated and everything like this. But the religion does not say to oppress and subjugate anyone, especially women. And we need to look, again, I've said it in the beginning, I'll say it now, we need to look introspectively, because we have that amongst us. We have it in members of our family. Women know maybe brothers or others who are like this and they remain silent. We may have brothers we know who have that particular view, and we talk about, oh, it's locker room talk, it's bravado and everything like that. No, it's not. And you should not entertain it whatsoever as well. And I'll say this now, and I have some, not many, but one or two colleagues, and I don't entertain it at all. You get these really misogynistic memes and cartoons that fly around, and these jokes, and you'll have a little giggle about the woman's place in the home, and all these sort of jokes that are actually there. I proffer, I offer, I suggest this is part of the problem as well. And I would say now to you, Wajid, to myself, anyone else, other men, when we get these memes that are patriarchal or misogynistic in their nature, and it's not necessarily Muslim ones, it can be Muslim ones, it can be non-Muslim ones, it's there. Delete.
So, or shut it down. Shut down that conversation.
And say to the individual, that's not me. That's not me, and you need to stop this. I'm just having a bit of banter. But that's where it starts. We had the most powerful position in the Western world being occupied by someone, former President Trump, who was able to touch women in their private parts, boast about it, do other things with women, and still hold the highest office in the land, and designate his abuse of particular women as banter and locker room talk. And we have to stop this. Some may say that it's speaking about it is one thing. And sorry, I paused because Hassan's just sent me a message. Do what some are saying, I promote feminism. Absolutely not. I don't. Okay. And this Suleiman superbike, okay, very masculine, Suleiman superbike. You keep promoting feminism. It's quite frustrating. Please stop. What am I promoting feminism? Do you know the rights of women, Suleiman superbike? I'll call you by your name. Do you know the rights of women? What is it you want to come back with regarding women? Tell me what I've said that conflicts and contravenes Islam. Bring it, please. Bring me about Khadija radiallahu anha and her role in Islam and who she was. Tell me about Aisha radiallahu anha, one of the greatest scholars in Islam. Tell me about Sauda. Come and talk to me about how they were and the wife of Umar radiallahu anhu in this instance. And then tell me that I'm promoting feminism. No, what I will promote, Brother Suleiman, Mr. Superbike, what I will promote is not phallic symbols and things like this, but what I will promote is women's rights as espoused by Islam, where they're not subjugated in a way that I perceive you understand it to be. So, Brother Suleiman, bring me something that I've said in any of the shows that I've done that contravenes what Islam says with regards to the rights of women. And let me ask you this question. What's your relationship with your mother, your wife, if you've got one, your children, if you've got daughters, your sister, if you've got any, or any female member of your family? Or are you living in a vacuum or an echo chamber where you don't interact with women? So please, spare
I think
me.
there's something else here as well. Yeah, Dr. Abdul Haqq, is that what has and I'm asking this to you, Suleiman, as well, is that what has Dr. Abdul Haqq said that has made you feel threatened, really? Because I don't think that anything has been said that anything. So you've replied, yeah, Jazakallah khair for replying. He said you didn't contradict Islam, but it's just every time I hear women are amazing and the like, the men's rights are being trampled on all over daily too. I got brothers being locked out their home.
Thank you,
Right.
Suleiman.
Okay.
Jazakallah
So
khair for
thank you
responding.
for clarifying that. Yeah.
I want to
Jazakallah khair.
engage in that.
Okay.
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't contradict Islam. Jazakallah khair. I appreciate that. Okay. Yeah, let me say this to you, Suleiman. Yeah, women are amazing. Okay. And I'm going to say and then I'm going to address your last point. Women are amazing. The type of women, okay, who endure the things that they endure, just from the basics, giving birth to our children, okay, raising and nurturing tomorrow's generation, okay, the Muslim women, if we're speaking about them, having that double whammy because they're wearing their hijabs and going out into society that is adverse to them. So yeah, but on the flip side, let's talk about the women that you're talking about, that where brothers are getting locked out of their homes. If you go back to one of the shows, we spoke the following week after speaking about women's rights, about what was happening with brothers. And I brought some examples that were close to home. I gave examples without speaking about myself, where the type of women that you're talking about who have taken up that mantra of being victims, have taken the narrative of being victims. I'm not talking about the genuine victims, Suleiman. I think you and I will agree there are genuine victims, but those who have taken up the mantra and the language narrative of being victims because they know that society listens to them in that instance, and in that way they then oppress their brothers, their husbands. Okay, the brothers lose rights to their children. Brothers are criminalized. Because, and I'll say this to you, Suleiman, let me say, I'm going to give an example, and I'm not going to go into too much detail to show you I know what I'm talking about in this instance here. I faced that once before, that victim mentality. And do you know what? I wasn't around at the time, yes, and we'll go there, Suleiman, but the police cordoned off the road where my mother lived, helicopters, everything, from an ex, armed police. They knocked and my brother had to come out and he had to produce his passport to show he wasn't me. So Suleiman, I know what you're talking about, but I will still say to you on the flip side, women are amazing. Not this category of women, those ones who run and scream and give the victim mentality, and they're not victims at all, and they know exactly what they're doing. I had a case of a brother that used to work for me. I'm not going to go into detail because his case is pending abroad. And his wife came to me, ex-wife, seeking arbitration and everything. I didn't know her. I was very cautious about the call. And I said, okay, let me see, because it was about custody of the children, rights of the children, everything like that. What she did to him, and I witnessed this, is of the caliber of women that you're talking about, where she got the police to, and tricked him, come and see your children. You can come and visit your children. And he traveled to the city, one of the holy cities, to go and visit his children. And she did that deliberately and lied to the police, and they arrested him. And I didn't see him for 2 days. He worked for me. And I was thinking, where is he? Where is he? They'd incarcerated him for 2 days. And they admitted, yeah, this was a plan with your ex-wife. She said certain things. And so we just waited in, lay in wait for you and arrested you. We got him out. Now they're back in the UK. Back in the UK. He's been looking after the kids. She suddenly gave him all of his kids. But now, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, he's contacted me. Can you write me a reference of what happened abroad when I was working for you? Because now she's trying, the kids went to visit her, I'm not getting them back again. So Suleiman, excuse me, I'm going to apologize to you here live on air. I was quite direct with you. I said about phallic symbols and superbike, because you touched the nerve where you're talking about that you accused me of feminism. And I am not one of those. I'm not that guy. So apologies to you live on air for if I'd said anything that upset you in that instance. But I know the type of women you are talking about. And if we need to talk about that type of woman in another show, we can. But as for now, we need to talk about the overwhelming majority of women who are wonderful, who are not of that category of women, because they're in a minority. Just like these evil, misogynistic individuals, they may be significant, but they are also of an overwhelming minority. So I hope I've made that clear and straight, Suleiman. You want to go down and talk about that one there? We can do that another time, and I've done that already. Maybe you missed that show.
Yeah.
But I don't
What I
want
would
to give...
say is, inshallah, yeah, we have that show. Just to quickly, Sister Shabnam's comment, Islam as a past victim of violence, one of the hardest things was telling others. For the most strangest reason, despite being the one attacked, you almost feel like you are the one to blame. I think that's what the sister's saying there. Furthermore, it's almost expected that hate for all men should be a natural consequence, but that itself would be another oppression against innocent men. SubhanAllah, Sister Shabnam, yeah, it's a very brave thing for you to write, and Jazakallah khair for sharing. And I think what I would say to Brother Suleiman as well is that I appreciate your insight there, inshallah. Sister Shamma is saying Islam is not about equality, it's about justice for both men and women. Jazakallah
exactly.
khair.
Exactly.
And we did, like I said, we did a show in November, but we also did one for the brothers. I don't know if Brother Hassan will be able to dig out the links for those. Maybe it's worth your while to take them, inshallah. But firstly, I just want to say again, we bring out whatever we can and be as honest and as truthful as we can. And Dr. Abdul Haqq apologizing live is something you should write down in your journal tonight or put it on your blog, because it doesn't happen very often. So, walaikum assalam, Gabriel, and I think I missed one of the salam that came through. Lala Roku, alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair.
And
yeah, just coming back to
brother Suleiman.
Suleiman, yes, thank you so much.
And I'm glad you've brought that up. Okay, and yeah, we went in a particular direction. I think we needed to go in that direction, and I hope that you're understanding why we're doing this now. Because when we look at what is happening to women, Suleiman, when we let's look at what's happening to the Uyghur women. I know it's not our society. Look at what's happening to them. Okay, let's look at what was happening when we look at what happened in Iraq, and we look at what was happening in the prisons, and we got the reports of the women being raped. Let's look at the acts of war, rape as an act of war that's happening in some of the African countries at the moment, where there's civil war and everything like this, where we're looking. Let's look at what happened with ISIS, Daesh, and what they did in that particular instance there, and the justifications that they were using. We can go on, Brother Suleiman, about this, and this is why we need to speak about those who are being oppressed excessively from a perspective of gender. And it's the women more than it is the men. So, Jazakallah khair again, Suleiman. I'm glad you brought this. You see, it was a trigger for me as well. Okay. For me, I think this is an important conversation that we need to have. But yes, we need to separate that category of woman who doesn't fit into the description that we're describing now. And then it's, I don't get it as sad as it is for Sarah, and people have been killing people since time began. Why is murder being debated? It's nothing new. Very good question. Let's talk straight, because murder is a cardinal sin. And you've said since the beginning, since the time began, and this is a very good point. So let's look at the first murderer. Okay. And the first murderer, we have the story of Cain and Abel, Habil wa Qabil, and one of them killing his brother out of jealousy and envy for him. And that story is given great attention in the Quran. And we see that after that, we understand that the one who saves a life is as if he or she has saved the whole of mankind. This is in the Quran. Okay. We know from the narration now, from the authentic narrations, that the brother who killed the first killer, the first murderer, will incur the sin of every murderer until the day of judgment. It's recurring. So I hope you get it now. When we say people have been killing since time began, why is murder being debated? It's nothing new. It doesn't matter that it's nothing new. It's heinous. And I could flip that and say, okay, let's put something on the other side. Why are we debating rape? It's nothing new. Would you ask that question? Would anyone ask that question? Why are we debating pedophilia? It's nothing new. Why are we debating XYZ? It's nothing new. If this was the premise, of discussion, we would have even more anarchy and violence and broken societies than we have at present.
And nothing to talk about, because ultimately all of these things have been committed before. I think the purpose of the discussion is to bring it to the fore and shine a light on it and understand that what it takes is subhanallah, sort of, forgive us English for who is Sarah and what happened. Okay, so Gabrielle, it's on the British news. I'm not sure where you are dialing in from. It's, as we were talking about before, there's a young lady who was walking home through Clapham Common towards that area, and she was murdered by a police officer who was not in his uniform at the time, so what you would call an off-duty officer. And last week there was some protests over the weekend. There was all sorts of things happening, and so this is what we're talking about today. But again, just coming back to the point of it, really, is that it's not about, we're not glamorizing anything here. We're not discussing anything in a way where it's astaghfirullah, like a fetish or kind of a discussion in that sense. It's about understanding what it is of our responsibilities as well. As we're touching on, Dr. Abdul Haqq is touching upon here, is like as men, we have a responsibility and an accountability of not just towards ourselves, but towards our community and to our society. And that we are responsible keepers in a lot of ways as men to ensure that we keep it that way. We ensure that it stays safe. And I think, we see it time and time again. People ignore the problems in their societies and their communities, but ultimately those problems will come to your doorstep. They will come to your door. Sister Octavia is saying, I saw my uncle yesterday and he showed me my sis and how to defend ourselves. If a gun was pulled on us or we were grabbed. Learning self-defense may be important, sad for those of us who are gentle-natured. Yeah, I think, Sister Octavia, when you start learning a martial art and you're quite a gentle, like you're just naturally a soft person. Like I know some of my children, they're really tender, some of them. It's very hard for them. I was showing one of them the chokehold. and it's really hard for that child. I'm not going to say which one, but it's really hard for that child, because then they say, but daddy, but look, just practice, I'll tap out, and then you're done. And it is, but subhanallah, it's just a skill. That's it. I know I'm talking about something a little bit out there, but again, it's not just simply about the martial arts and the techniques and everything. It's the confidence. Do you understand? Perpetrators, bullies, aggressors, they go for those who they think they can manipulate, they can perpetrate upon, they can oppress. And when you have that strength and confidence in you, it shuts them down. It makes them think twice, and it makes them back away. And sort of what Dr. Abdul Haqq was talking about, that idea, that when somebody challenges them, they're just bullies, they're cowards. Internally, they're cowards. They implode, they deflate, and they disappear as soon as they can, the moment they can, as soon as they are challenged. So, inshallah ta'ala, Sister Octavia, may Allah give you that strength. And again, like I said, it's a skill set, and may you never need to use it. May our sisters and our women never need to use it. But when you have it and you have that confidence and you can look and sort of say, okay, you know what's happening? It's going to happen. SubhanAllah, it shifts everything. You put the fear of God in those who don't even believe in God.
I'll tell you something positive, something that I think was quite uplifting for us when we heard it. Some sisters that we knew many, many years ago had an incident in North London. I think it was near the Arsenal. And basically, they had to teach this individual, a man, a lesson. And he messed with the wrong sisters. And they left him stone cold, knocked out on the pavement with their hijabs, everything, just left him there. Because he thought he could have trying to abuse one of them, and in their hijabs and physically and everything. And they said no. They had their buggies with them, with their children, parked the buggies and went for it. And he was just left knocked out on the pavement. And then I will say they were defending themselves, and I say kudos to those sisters in that instance there. Yeah. And I will add, so many times people speak and don't like to go. I like to give detail within reason. I remember when a sister was attacked and the individual tried to attack her sexually, tried to take off her abaya, everything like that. Okay. And it wasn't too far from where we were at the mosque, and the word got to us that something serious had happened. Someone had followed the individual to where he lived. It was on the same estate. So I was chairman at the time, and I said to the congregation, I've had to say this a few times, halt the prayer. And we went across to the estate in our bike, somewhat on foot, and we got across there. And what happened, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but the whole window frame of that individual's house was broken into, the door was kicked off the hinges, and he was dealt with. The police came later on that night because we had to protect a particular household. And we said, we're not moving until you put security outside this door. And some will say, well, that's vigilantism. And I wouldn't call it that. I would say it's defending our community. And if the police aren't going to step in on time, then some action needs to be taken in that instance. And as I've mentioned, so those, I'm not telling everyone to go out and do what my community did. I come from a very robust community who are used to doing things on their own, not calling the authorities because of the way we've been dealt with by the authorities, false imprisonment and mass arrests and all sorts of things like that. So I'm not saying anyone should take that up, but what I'm saying is that we need to show up. It's a time for action. And I'm not saying vigilantism. I'm saying if you suspect, I repeat what I said in the beginning, and I want to be very clear. If you see a woman or a child feeling uncomfortable, looking uncomfortable, there is absolutely nothing wrong in asking if that child's all right. And you will know from their response. As long as you're not looking or in an environment where you're looking threatening and dangerous in yourself. Mm-hmm. And then as Brother Bilal's wife had said, and I think this is a lesson those of us who've joined the show lately, as I said before, I used to get offended when people crossed the road as a young man because they saw a black man walking there.
Yeah.
According to what his wife has said, I will now adopt what his wife has asked him to adopt. Okay. Yeah. I don't want to describe Brother Bilal, but he's a very attractive, handsome, very well built, very tall, gentle, giant, not to be messed about with, but really beautiful smile, approachable. And even me walking down the road with him, I'd be thinking, does he want to try it? Let me inflate myself a little bit. So but in the sense there, mashallah, that's such is Bilal, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. Allahumma barik Bilal, jazakallah khair.
Well, I hope you don't mind me saying, Dr. Abdul Haqq, all of your friends are like that, mashallah. Anyway,
especially Bilal. But what I would say is, I will adopt that. I think based on
there's something really else as well advice. Is that, you know, sometimes when you're walking behind somebody as well, especially as a man, if there's a woman on her own, keep your distance. You know, keep your distance because you don't know what she's
yes, as well. You know? But then I would cross in myself now because I don't want her to feel like, because me, when I've got someone walking behind me, I don't know if he's going to shank me, if he wants to do something like that. So I'm alert. Imagine, sorry, I'm from South London. Come on, right? You're laughing. I'm from South London.
Switched on, bruv. I'm on. I'm learning, bruv. I'm learning.
So for us as men to feel that apprehension when someone's coming towards us or when someone's behind us, imagine how much more for a woman. So yes, I would say men, be more conscientious. And as Muslims, conscientiousness is something that should be at the forefront of our minds. Actually, UK, British society, once upon a time was very conscientious. We would be considering others a lot more. We'd be taking into account their consideration, their feelings a lot more. And I think that the last thing I'm going to say at this point here, on this point, we have a tremendous hadith that if we enact this in society, just this hadith, then we will see a lot of improvement in our own communities, and we're about to share that with the wider non-Muslim community. And that's the narration that everyone knows. Love for your brother or your sister what you love for yourself. So put yourself in a situation where you're feeling vulnerable. How would you like someone to intervene or to show you, don't worry, I'm here, I'm keeping an eye?
Yeah, Jazakallah khair. I think we'll finish there, inshallah. Jazakallah khair for your time again this evening, Dr. Abdul Haqq. This has been a very emotional conversation for me personally, anyway. And I want to thank all of you for joining in. For my dear sisters who are there, leaving the comments. Jazakallah khair, barakallahu feek. For all the brothers too, Brother Suleiman as well, for getting involved and raising these issues and clarifying things, because it's important. I think it's important to clarify these things and bring these questions to the fore and discuss them. And ultimately, I think we protect ourselves by doing so. Sister Shama, you also, Jazakallah khair for your comment, and you gave a comment earlier as well. My apologies for not picking up on it so quickly. And thank you all of you for joining us. Subhanallah, we're heading towards Ramadan, not far off, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah accept it from you, set it up for you sweet, inshallah, and that, inshallah, may Allah put blessings and rahmah for it. But in the meantime, inshallah, as Brother Dr. Abdul Haqq very clearly outlined and highlighted, that it's about taking care of each other. It's about understanding that each of us has a value, and that value is not diminished by our gender, but it is, inshallah ta'ala, it is a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has honored us and He has given us an accountability and a responsibility for within ourselves, from within our families, within our communities, and within our societies. And we manage that and we hold true to that by seeking the correct knowledge, by remaining steadfast upon the haqq, and remaining true to the truth, and not to ourselves, not to our egos, and not to our cultures, and not to our traditions, but holding true to that which is pure, and that which is pure is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and from the sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us, keep us pure, keep us sincere, and may He protect us, guide us, and allow us to remain upon the nur of this deen and the nur of this world. And inshallah ta'ala, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to be amongst the greatest, inshallah. I just want to thank you all again. Jazakallah khair for joining us. And inshallah ta'ala, we look forward to catching up with you, inshallah, next Monday, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.